I'm going to show you how to make REST API calls to Aria automation. Let's get started.
Hi everyone, I'm Watrous from VVork. If this is your first time here and you want to learn about automating, programming, and monitoring in VMware environments, you're in the right place.
This is part 9 in a 10-part video series in which we're exploring how to make REST API calls. In parts 1 through 8, we took a generic look at how to make REST API calls. But now, in parts 9 and onwards, we're going to take a look at specific VMware products. In part 9, we're going to be taking a look at how to make REST API calls to VMware Aria automation. In this video, we're going to take a look at how you can use the REST API to look up the resource types supported by your vRealize automation system. Be sure to watch to the end of the video because I have a bonus for you. You're going to want to see it. All right, so as you can see here, I've defined a request called getResourceTypes. And you can see the URL that it's using, and we can just run it. But what is this that we're talking about? What are these resource types? Let me show you. I'm going to go over to vRealize Automation. I'm already logged into Cloud Assembly, and I'm going to go to the Resources tab. And here in the Resources tab, you can see I have a single deployment. I'm going to open up that deployment. And in this deployment, if you look at the topology diagram here, you can see that this deployment consists of 3 different resources. There's a machine, a network that it's plugged into, and there is another type of resource for something called salt stack config. So the machine resource tells the cloud template that we use to do this deployment to deploy a machine. The network resource says, hey, we want to connect to a particular network. And then this salt stack config element is used to configure the machine that we deployed. So those are examples of 3 different resource types: machine, network, and salt stack. There are far more than just 3 different resource types. Let's actually go over to the Design tab and take a look at a cloud template. As you can see here, I'm defining a new, super sophisticated cloud template here called BDW-whatever. Don't worry about this cloud template. There's not really anything going on here. It's just meant to demonstrate. Over here on the left side of our interface, we have these collection of resources that we can drag and drop into our cloud template. For example, if I want my cloud template to deploy a machine, I drag in a machine. Machine is a type of resource. vSphere machine is a specific type of machine resource. And if I fill in a little bit of code here, I will have a cloud template that knows how to deploy a machine. If I want to connect that machine to a network, I just drag out a network. And if I want, I can add other resources such as that salt stack config resource. And I can do exciting things like connect that machine to our network. Again, I still have some code that I need to write here for this to truly function, but I'm not trying to create a functional, correct cloud template in this demonstration. I just want to show you resource types. So let me collapse a few parts of this interface. All right, as you can see, I have collapsed all those different sections so that we can get an overall view of the different types of resources. You might think of each of these as a category of different types of resources. We saw a few moments ago that with vSphere, I can drag these resource types, machine, disk, network, to get those types of resources deployed by this cloud template. On the other hand, if I were to go to, let's say, Microsoft Azure, I could drag in a Microsoft Azure machine to get a machine deployed in their public cloud. Now, as you go looking around in here, you'll discover there are loads of other services that the cloud platforms tend to provide. And additionally, the cloud services may use slightly different terminology. For example, if you want to deploy a machine in AWS, they don't call them machines, they call them instances. But what I want you to see in this demonstration so far is that there are loads of different resource types. Machines, disks, also known as volumes, and various services. Here's a whole bunch of services that are specific to AWS. But collectively, no matter which platform type we're talking about, these are different types of resources. And that's what we want to look up over here in Postman. So now that you understand what resource types are, let's just go ahead and run the request. And as you can see, I got a 200. Let's go ahead and copy this and paste it over into Notepad++. Let's type Control N to get a new tab, Control V to paste in the response body, Control Shift J to get a new instance of the JSON tree viewer. That also prettied up the code. All those commands, those last two commands, can be done by using keyboard sequences. So to pretty, you can choose Control Alt Shift P. To open the JSON viewer over on the right side, you can type Control Shift J. And you can also type Alt 0 to collapse everything over on the left. We'll expand this over here on the left in a bit, but I like to work with the tree viewer first because it helps me to understand the overall structure of what I'm looking at. So let's expand. Here's our response body. Our response body consists primarily of information related to the paging of responses that we're getting back from Visualize Automation. What we're most interested in, though, is this content section. If we go to content, you can see that we got back 20 elements in this array called content. And each of these is a different resource type. Just picking one of these as an example, just randomly picking one. Looks like the one that's in slot number 7 is for an Azure machine. But wait a sec, there's only 20 of these here. I could swear when we are over here, when we're looking at all of them, oh my gosh, there's way more than 20 of these. So why are we only seeing 20 resource types? Let's go back to our response body here in Notepad++. Why are there only 20 here? Well, the answer is, and you already know this, the Visualize Automation REST API sends information back in pages. Instead of giving you everything that you requested, it gives it to you in chunks at a time called pages. Visualize Automation knows that there's actually 101 different resource types, but it has only returned 20 of them. Now you can read the API documentation for Visualize Automation to learn more about paging, but let me show you one little trick here. If I want to get back more, I can say things like and size equals 200. There are also other settings that you can use, such as and skip. Maybe you want to skip the first, not skip minus, skip equals, skip the first 50. You can do that, but I just want to get all of them in one shot here. So I'm going to click send. Once again, I'm going to copy. I'm going to go over to Notepad++, Control N, Control V, Control Shift J, and Alt 0. Notice this time when we look that the content array has all 101 resource types this time, which is quite handy. So you can open up each of these to see all the information that we give you about each of these different types of content. So there's a description. This one doesn't happen to have a description, but all the rest do. So there's a description of each resource type. There's the name of each resource type. There's the ID that you'll see elsewhere. All sorts of information available to you through that one simple REST request. Now at the beginning of this video, I promised an added bonus. And what I meant by that is I've been showing you this JSON tree viewer plugin in Notepad++ throughout lots of different videos in this series. And we've used this tree viewer to help us understand the structure of our response body. So again, instead of being overwhelmed by looking at the entire response body, we can use JSON tree viewer. You've seen how I use it, but you haven't seen me do this before. Remember when we did our initial query, we got back content array and all these properties that have to do with paging. But watch this. At dot content submit query. So at dot content submit query. Now what I'm getting back is just the contents of the array called contents. So again, this is the same 101 entries that we saw before, but I'm only seeing information in the array called contents. If we look at any of these elements, we can see that they have properties such as name and description. Let me change what I type here just a little bit. I'm going to type this time @content7 in square brackets, which you'll recognize as the notation to index into an array. So if I do @content7, that is going to return just this portion of the response body, which again was Cloud Azure Machine. Let's actually try it and see what we get. So by indexing just into element 7, we get back just the information for that one resource type, which again here is cloud.azure.machine. Now we can also do exciting things like if I just wanted to know its name, you can add .name, submit query. This time I just get its name. Or I can say I'm only interested in the description. And if I type it correctly, now I just get the description. And again, that's potentially quite useful. If you understand the format and structure of this JSON formatted response body, you can use this query language to get right to the specific piece of information that you want. But let me show you one more little twist here, and you probably have already anticipated this. If instead of indexing to a specific array entry, if you use a wildcard such as asterisk, notice this time what I get back is 101 names. Or if I wanted to look up the descriptions, now if only I could type. Now I'm only getting back the descriptions. Now at this point, you're probably asking yourself, what is this magical query language that Brian is using? Well, to find out more about this query language and the things that you can do here, if you go to Plugins and go to JSON Tools, by the way, if you don't see JSON Tools, you need to go to Plugins Admins to install JSON Tools, but assuming you've got JSON Tools, if you go to JSON Tools Documentation, that will take us to their GitHub site. And in the GitHub site, if you go to Docs, there's lots of different pieces of documentation, but if you go to the message digest for README, in general, the README file gives you information about the JSON Tools Viewer plugin itself and how to find the different documentation. But there's one section here that I want to draw your attention to. Let me find it here. So I'm going to type Control F, RemesPath. I'm sure I'm pronouncing that wrong. I'm going to pronounce it RemesPath. But if we go searching for RemesPath, in this README file, there's a section titled, we're almost there, this section titled RemesPath. And in RemesPath, it talks about the query language and all the amazing things you can do with it. In addition to the README, I would also encourage you to go look at the RemesPath MD file, which, as you can see here, goes into gory detail about exactly what you can do with this query language. So this opens up a world of possibilities when you're using Notepad++. This brings us to what I'm at least tentatively going to declare to be the end of the series of videos on vRealize automation. If there's more you want to know, let me know in the comments and I can create future videos. But I want to get on to other things like Orchestrator and how to use its REST API in the next videos. But you are already well prepared to dive down deeper and deeper into the Aria automation REST API. Again, if you've gone through all the videos in this video series up until this point, you're armed with the information that you need to know to go out venturing on your own and do amazing things through the REST API. Again, I have complete confidence in you. If you have a moment, some time for now, once you've been using the REST API, I would love to hear back from you in the YouTube comments. Let me know what you are doing with the VRA REST API. Or again, if you have questions, I can't promise to answer everything. I'm a busy guy. Like you, I'm busy. But I do check the YouTube comments to see if there's a recurring theme of questions that people are asking. So drop your comments in the the YouTube comments. Let me know what you're working on, or let me know what you can't figure out. And not only can I potentially respond there in the comments or at the follow-up video, I'm sure lots of other people who are watching these videos can join together, and we can all help each other through those YouTube comments. Let's go out and use the VRA REST API. Join me in the next video to learn how to use the VRO REST API.